Now this graph isn't drawn very carefully, but with a good graph, you probably get x equals plus or minus 1.1 or plus or minus 1.2. Now, I say plus or minus because you've got a solution here and a solution here, and because of the symmetry, these solutions will be equal and opposite, right? One will be positive, the other will be negative. It doesn't look like that with this graph. This line isn't particularly level. These things aren't particularly straight, and the graph wasn't done all that carefully, okay? Do a reasonably careful graph. You're probably going to end up with plus or minus 1.1, plus or minus 1.2. So, f of x equals 1.3 means x squared equals 1.3.
So now what you doing? You finding the square root of 1.3?
I want you to do that, but you can always do it to check yourself. You're not going to do what it says. It says draw the graph and use it to estimate, right? Punching it into a calculator and finding out what the number is not estimating. So you have to show me all of this, okay?
Oh.
You don't just solve that equation, although that is the equation, and if you did solve it, I'd probably give you maybe half credit, but you didn't use the graph to do it, and that's about all you'd get, okay? This is what I want to see, because that's what it means to use the graph to estimate. Sometimes you can't solve the equation. You've got a complicated function, it can't be solved. You're going to have to use some kind of an estimation, okay?
So what I'm saying is, right, if you use the graph to estimate, how you know, how would you know where the x value is at? You just got the
Well,
equation for
y is 1.3 on this line, right?
Yeah.
Now if I take this line and project it straight down, that's the value of x.
So project it straight down from what you got as far as the shape. That's
Yeah.
all right.
Because you know, if you project straight down from the 1 point, you're going to get 1, right? So this says f of x is 1 when x equals 1. Now if you do the same thing for this point, you project straight down, you're going to get 2, right?
Yeah.
So this is the point where f of x equals 2. Okay?
All right.
Now, what's the value of f of x here? Now, well, for what value of x do you get y equals 1.3? Well, you do your best line where you think 1.3 is, right? And then you see what value of x would give you this. Okay? So, what I can say now is, how's my 1.1 as a solution? Okay? Well, so 1.1 squared is 1.21, right? And that's fairly close to 1.3. So this is probably fairly close to the right solution, right? Now what about 1.2? Well, 1.2 squared is 1.44. That's not as close, but it's okay. Right? So you know that the solution is between 1.1 and 1.2, right? 1.1, when you plug it into this function, gives you less than 1.3, okay? So I can kind of summarize what we see. So we found that
So you want all of that for that one question.
you don't have to do all this, but you can if you want to convince yourself and check your solutions, right? Now, if you've done the graph right and estimate this correctly, and by correctly I mean
I was about to say, 'cause-
A
correct?
reasonable estimate, right?
Alright,
You don't want to make the estimate 1 because you know that would occur for y equals 1, right?
yeah,
And you certainly don't want to make it 2, that's way far away from 1.3, right?
yeah.
And so if you estimate 1.1 or 1.2, it's fine. And if your graph is a little off, not all that well drawn, I'm not trying to make draftsmen out of you, although in your case, you draw graphs very precisely, okay? So I don't think you would get anything other than either a 1.1 or a 1.2. If you've got like 1.3, I wouldn't quibble. If you've got the picture right and just, you know, get a crooked projection line, as long as I can tell the projection line is supposed to be perpendicular to the x-axis,
Alright,
it's going to be okay. But this is where we can go with this. F of 1.2 is 1.44, greater than 1.3. The solution to f of x equals 1.3 is between x equals 1.1 and x equals 1.2. Okay? Now again, you don't have to do all this, you don't have to check it, although I kind of would. Okay? And you're going to have a calculator, so you could find the square root, and if it didn't come out exactly right, you can fudge it a little bit. As long as you know where it is on the graph and how the graph shows you, I'm not going to worry. And if you tell me that the solution is 1.238792, that's not an estimate.
That's an
Okay?
approximation.
That's something you got off your calculator. Either that or you're trying to be funny, and I can respect that. Okay?
Yay, I'm gonna do it now.